Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on how to host an amazing virtual event with GotoWebinar and LogMeIn. My name is Esther. I'm the operations manager at RCS Professional Services. We are an IT and cybersecurity solution support company. So what that means is we help small businesses across the US with their IT support and solutions. So I'm really excited about today's webinar. Actually, the topic is, of course, how to run a virtual event. We've been partners with LogMeIn, who created this platform. You're going to hear a lot about it and you're going to get to see it in action. But personally, I know that we've just benefited tremendously from this platform. Those of you who know us know that we do a lot of virtual events, and this platform has really helped us get launched and be able to do what we do with the events. It has a lot of automation and capabilities. So super excited to share it with everybody. Before we get going, just a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to have a little presentation with LogMeIn and, of course, introduce Jeffrey and Norman from RCS, or reintroduce for some of you. But if you have any questions or want to give any comments, we would love to hear them. You can use the little raise hand button that you'll see on your control panel on your screen, and either throughout the webinar or more likely at the end, we'll be sure to address them and call on you to ask your question. So without further ado, I'm really excited to introduce first off Jeffrey and Norman from RCS, and Jeremy from GotoWebinar as well. Hey everyone.
Hey there.
So just real quick introductions. Jeffrey is our president and CEO. And Jeff, I'll let you jump in and give some intro.
Sure,
and Norman's our amazing CIO, and I'll let you introduce the rest. So.
Sure. Thank you. So thanks for putting it together as always, Esther. And, this is an exciting topic. As Esther said, when the pandemic hit, we were trying to figure out how to really engage, keep our clients, keep engaged with our clients, with our prospects. And, everything was shut down. Obviously, I don't need to retell that story. But we pivoted and started using GotoWebinar, and we had virtual events. We have them monthly regularly now. And it's been a tremendous tool for us. So we wanted to share more about it. So we brought the product specialist and the company that makes it, which is LogMeIn, and we do use them as a strategic partner for a full suite of products that we offer our clients, everything from password management to phone systems to video conferencing to GoToMeeting. They make a ton of stuff, and they've really been doing a great job at it for several years now. So I'm excited for us to talk about this and tell you how it's helped us in our business and how it could help you. So as always, Norman is my partner in crime. We've been working together for like 20 plus years, and he's the brains behind the operation. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Norm?
Hey there, everybody. So we've been talking about this idea of events. And yeah, we took a look at a few different platforms and settled on GoToWebinar because, well, it's the features you're going to see coming up. It's great for running events and keeping track of what's going on during the event, and then the follow-ups after the event. It really got the whole thing from thinking about your event to planning it to hosting it to what happens after. They've got it all worked out, and I'm excited to see them show it to us.
Awesome. And Melissa Bradley is our channel partner manager. So all things LogMeIn, we go to her. She helps us with pricing and, making sure we could offer these tools at a price that our clients can afford and provide great value. So Melissa, tell us a little bit about your role and LogMeIn as a company.
Absolutely. So as Jeffrey and Norman mentioned, we have been working together for quite some time. I believe it's actually been about 4 years now. So I have been with LogMeIn, formerly known as Jive, for the past 7 years. And so I have primarily covered the Northeast area, specifically New York, New Jersey. And so because of that role, I obviously got the pleasure of meeting Jeffrey and Norman. So I am excited to be a part of this event today. I work hand in hand with Jeremy, who is my solutions consultant within the channel and is the product expert on GoToWebinar. So Jeremy, if you want to introduce yourself as well, we can go ahead and go from there.
Sure. Nice to meet everyone, and thanks for the introduction, Melissa. And Jeffrey and Norman, appreciate you guys having us on. Really grateful for your time and expertise as well selling our products. So my name is Jeremy. I'm a solutions consultant with LogMeIn. My primary responsibility is helping out Melissa and Jeffrey and Norman to understand our products and to make sure that they're a great fit for their customers. And just personally speaking about GoToWebinar, right, we're using this platform today to demonstrate, how great it is, right, and how useful it is, right. Jeffrey and Norman wouldn't trust their business with GoToWebinar if it wasn't an easy-to-use platform that provided them with the insights that they needed. And we're going to extend that information to you once we're getting started with our presentation.
Can't wait.
Cool. So we'll just get started real quick. I'm going to launch a quick poll just so you guys get used to the platform and we can see maybe how you can use this to push out information. So let me go ahead and start this poll here. You can go ahead and click the answer on the poll, and you can see how many GoToWebinars are hosted each year on GoToWebinar.
See those responses coming in. Go ahead and vote on your screen now. A few more.
Looks like we're pretty evenly split so far. All right. Looks like we have all our answers in.
Great.
Cool. So based off of the results, we have 2.8 million is in the lead and 1.1 million is coming in second. So Jeff, would you be able to answer that question for us?
Yes, the answer is 2.8 million. That's a lot.
Oh, they were right.
Awesome. Yeah,
good job,
you guys are ready to go. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and click get started here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Change presenter to myself. Share my screen. Cool. So thanks for taking the time today with GoToWebinar. I know your time is valuable, and we're grateful that you've attended this webinar with us. So we're going to go ahead and demonstrate GoToWebinar as a product, right? Why would you want to use it? What the features and benefits are of GoToWebinar, and what are some things that maybe you can use that to enhance your business and enhance what you really want to give to your customers or employees. Just like we're using GoToWebinar today to demonstrate a product, you can use this to demonstrate products to your employees and customers. So we'll go over why GoToWebinar, right? Just kind of an overview of the product. Why would you want to use it? How to plan your webinar, promote your webinar, right? If nobody's attending, right? What good is it? And then finally, what happens when you're in the webinar, right? How do you engage your audience? Things like polls, right? Very important just to, gauge interest in different parts of your product, or, just kind of get people up and going, right? Get you thinking about, different things that you want to engage your audience with. Finally, we'll show you how to present the webinar, right? And then, what you can do with that information afterwards, right? And, some cool integrations that we have with marketing automation software. So just a quick overview of GoToWebinar. We were launched in 2006 to allow anybody to easily host a webinar. We focused on simplicity and self-service when the market was dominated by complex and cumbersome webcasting solution that needed operators support 100% of the time. And the focus on simplicity powered our explosive growth. As you can know, we have over 2.6 million webinars hosted last year, so that's a ton, and even more this year. So with over 50,000 customers, GoToWebinar is the market leader in web events today. And then we continually add features to GoToWebinar based off of extensive customer feedback to make webinars easier, more fun, and even more valuable. So why would you want to use GoToWebinar, right? Or just why webinars in general? So when you're going remote in COVID times, right, last year, right, you might not have had the chance to really adjust your business, right? But now that we're kind of settling into the new normal, right, webinars have become really sticky in a lot of customer environments. Because what they do is they increase attentiveness and engagement, and it helps you relate to the audience at scale, right? And at scale means it meets them where they are, right? They're working from home, right? They could be at the office. They could be on the road, right? They don't have time, or maybe they don't want to take the time anymore to come into a business seminar each week or each month just to learn about new products. And this also gives you the perfect vehicle to get them to take action, right? You get more information out of that, right? We've got attendee features that allow you to track attentiveness, right? Polls and questions, right? To just, amplify what you're trying to say, reinforce messages and things like that, right? So a lot of great use cases for, using webinars. So a quick overview of GotoWebinar. It all starts with the dashboard. The dashboard is where you go ahead and schedule webinars and see what's going on within your webinars, right? It's everything that you need at a glance. So with GoToWebinar's dashboard, you're able to see the upcoming events that you have, how many people have attended or are attending, if you have any guest speakers or information, as well as webinar performance data, right? So the powerful metrics that we give you, right? You can see over time how your different webinars have stacked up, right? If you get more attendees on a certain day or time, right? Or less attendees on a certain day or time, you're able to adjust that and drill into that granularly to see, how your performance has been, right? If they're worth your time and if you're worth your attendees' time. Hopefully they are. With GoToWebinar, right, we've got global settings. So this allows you to save time and choose from flexible audio options, right? You can save time using a mobile device for your attendees, right? They can join using computer audio using voice over IP over the internet. You can also provide long distance or international numbers using our complimentary toll-free open voice product. So if you wanted to have attendees dial in on countries that might not have strong internet connections, you can use that to present to them with numbers where they are, right? So say you had customers in Germany, you can add German numbers in there so they can dial in and feel a lot more connection with you and your content. You can also have webcams, right? This is probably one of my favorite features for webinars, right? Because it puts a personal face into things. And you can also record webinars. You can auto-record them and save them to your own video library. So you can download them, share them out, and also engage with people who might not have had the chance to attend.
Yeah, actually, Esther uploads ours to YouTube after our YouTube channel, which has been very helpful for prospecting, targeting, client acquisition and stuff like that. It's been great for us.
Thank you. So when you're ready to plan your webinar, we also have a simple and easy to use interface here. We've got a fresh new UI that makes planning and scheduling webinars faster and easier. You can choose a webinar type, and more on webinar types in a second, but you can choose a date, a title, a time, right? You can choose to have different types of sessions. You can make them recurring, right? You can choose to have maybe one webinar a week, one webinar a month, and all attendees can choose which one to register to, so they know which one's important, and you know which one's important to them, or they can register for all of them. So it's kind of like an ongoing series or ongoing seminar. And of course, this is mobilely responsive, right? So you can plan and update events from any device. We've got 3 different webinar types. So we give you the options to give customers the flexibility to adjust for their situation and use cases. Many competitors only offer one mode. Today we're in standard mode. This is great for marketing, training, intimate events with high interactivity. Attendees can join via computer audio or phone, so you can unmute attendees and bring them on live if they have any questions. There's also the webcast mode, and these are great for large company meetings and demand generation webinars. There's a no download, right? And this gives you the greatest scalability for the webinars, right? Because number one, it meets them where they are. They don't have to download anything. It's really easy to join. They still get the interactive content, but it's really simple and easy. It's also a lot more flexible because they can just join on their computer browser. They don't need to download anything. And then finally, we have our recorded webinars.
On a webcast, they can't interact with you. Is that right?
You can still have polls and questions, Q&A, but when it comes down to maybe bringing attendees on to webcam or on to answer questions live, it's less flexible than standard.
Got it.
And then finally, we have our recorded webinars. These are perfect for recurring trainings, ongoing webinars, right? So you can pre-record them and still include polls, question and answer, and video for a dynamic attendee experience. And it's also great for scheduling challenges, especially in different time zones. So you can increase your attendee reach with recorded events and allowing as many folks as the registration limit supports, so up to 10,000.
The poll will be part of the recording and they can answer that and we get the information afterwards?
Absolutely, yeah. You can run reports on everything. And the Q&A comes in there as well, right? So if you needed to follow up with any customers that had questions, you can also use that to, just use that for informational gathering purposes, right? Maybe they had a question and you can follow up with them afterwards. So it's all of these offer those great features. It's just kind of how you want to engage your attendees. So next up is how do you promote your event, right? So today, all of you have joined this webinar, right? So presumably you know how to register for an event, but we have a couple different ways of having GoToWebinar give you the ability to promote events. Out of the box, we give you the ability to have branded registration pages, right? So this allows you to have customizable content to gather information and data. You can use these to choose registration fields and questions, right? The default is the first name, last name, and email address. But you can also use this to collect further customer information here. You can see here that we have, the ability here to, give further data, right? Like phone number, what organization that they're a part of, right? What their job title is. And these are customizable fields, right? So this allows you to delve deep into what information you want to gather from your customers or attendees. You can also have registration settings, right? So this allows you to send out, if there's a confirmation email, if there's a video attached to it or a password. You can also use this to set, the notifications, right? So if it's once they register for a webinar, right, using our default page, you can use this to send an email out to them automatically.
Once we get a bunch of registrations, we are able to see that list on the GotoWebinar interface, as in.
Absolutely, yeah. So you can monitor who's attending, right? If they, had any other information in there that you wanted to gather, right? And that's fully reportable. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. We also have automated email management here. So if you wanted to set out email cadence and rules, right, you can send out confirmation emails as well as reminder emails. And all this is customizable here, right? As you can see here, you can set, up to 3 different reminder emails, hours, days, weeks ahead of time, right? And you can also, cancel that, right? You don't have to use that because this is all fully customizable. And of course, right, you can send out follow-up emails here. You can send follow-up emails 1 day after the event or to attendees and absentees, right? So it's really easy to, segregate your attendees and get granular information out of that. And one more thing that's really cool with GoToWebinar, right, is that, we work well with others. We can give you all of this data to your marketing systems that you're using today. So we've got integrations with, Salesforce, Pardo, which is a really big one, HubSpot, right, which is, we're a premier sponsor of their events, Marketo and others, right? And we also have an API for those of you who may, be a little bit more tech inclined.
And this one's a huge one for us, Jeremy, because like when we do webinars and, there's dozens and hundreds of names in there, just being able, we use HubSpot in our organization to get them on our drip marketing campaigns. It's like so much more automated than the way we used to do it. Like it's really awesome. I think this is the key feature.
Yeah, it's really great. We have a web page here that our integrations web page that allows you to select the product that you're using, which in this case would be GoToWebinar, or if you're using our phone system, GoToConnect, right? You can also select that on our web page, right? And you can search for different integrations that we have, right? So if your software isn't on this list, right, we may still offer it. So just don't think that because it's not on there that we don't offer it. So we also have engagement, right? One of the great things about GoToWebinar is that it's also a platform for more audience engagement. So with audience engagement, right, comes a couple different things, right? The most important one to me, right, is, sharing a webcam, right? It puts a personal face on things. You can see, who's talking, right? It allows them to, really see how, involved you are with the product, how much emotion that you put into it, as well as, you can also say that it's more engaging, right? 83% of webinar attendees say it's more engaging. We also have polls and handouts as part of this, right? So you can upload videos, PDFs, things that you want to use to drive engagement, learning, retention, and action, right? So if you wanted to have like a one-pager about your product, or if you're doing this for an internal thing, right? You could say that maybe for human resources, if you had an important document to hand out, one of the use cases there is for internal company events. So you can have handouts in there as part of that. And we also have polls here.
Wait, so with the handout, that gets to them how?
So as part of the handouts, you can use our downloaded application that you use, and you can click on the side of it that there's a handout to download. So on the right side of your screen where you have your audio options, you can also see here that there's handouts, and that's also the place where the Q&A bubble is, right? So it allows you to interact with our platform and show you what things look like. So we'll take a pause here and we'll launch our second poll.
You got it. It's a fun one.
Yeah. So this is kind of relevant to what's going on now, right? Halloween's coming up. You're probably shopping for candy. So we want to know, maybe some of you are in California, and you might not have known this. We want to know what item is banned in California on Halloween. Is it, dry ice, right? Is it, silly string, glow sticks, or fireworks? And thankfully, right, candy is not on that list.
So go ahead and cast your votes now.
So the thing to understand here is that we as organizers can see live results of what's happening. So I can see how many, what percentage of people have voted so far and what they voted for. So I'm getting live feedback of what's happening and have a general idea of, okay, how long has this poll been running and when is it time to close it?
Exactly.
So looks like we have a good amount of responses in. We got almost all of you have voted. So do you want to go ahead and we'll close this poll and we'll go over the results?
Okay. Fireworks.
So fireworks, yeah, that probably should be banned, judging by what's been happening in California. Some of you have voted for dry ice as well. But no, Esther, do you want to go over the answer?
Oh, sure. Let's see. I think that one was the glow sticks.
No, I'll hop in. This is Jeff from LogMeIn. The answer is actually silly string.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure fireworks are banned year-round, but just on Halloween, they banned silly string.
Wow.
Cool. Well, good to know. Next time I'm in California for Halloween, I won't bring my silly string. So, with a poll, right, it's a no-brainer poll to, prompt interaction. This helps you drive engagement and get the audience to stay longer, right? So you can also use polls during the event to understand the level of experience and tailor your delivery, right? So I might know that, some of you are more interested in fireworks, so I'll mix it up. Maybe I'll talk about fireworks next. You can also use polls to collect statistics around your audience, right? So you can use that to further segment your audience. And of course, right, all these results are available through our reporting and our API. Another cool feature that I love for engagement, right, is you can mix it up with video, right? You can have up to 5 videos played as part of a webinar, right? So maybe you had a pre-canned video or a product demonstration that you just, you need to nail as part of this demonstration, and you don't want to have it go wrong, right? So you can record a video ahead of time and then play it as part of the webinar, and the attendees would just see that there's a video play, right? Or you can upload MP4s, or you can use YouTube links if you wanted to, just share some old content or something that's on YouTube. Real flexible and easy.
So this one was really useful to us when we were doing our thing of our webinar on the Teams phone system, because there was no way for us to demonstrate a phone call other than recording it before and then playing that video, and it worked great. It's great. You upload it and you click go, and it's right there and it's presenting.
And you actually don't have to have any prior experience doing polls and events. I've actually just learned how to do this recently, and it's super easy on the back end. So for those of you who are new to events, virtual events, it's really easy to do. It's one of the great things about the platform.
Yeah, and one of the great things about our platform, right, is it's designed for webinars, right? So the features that you get, right, they're webinar first. They're not, built for another platform and then we just, tied them on, right? These features are designed for webinars and for, marketing and events. So a lot of cool features there. Another cool thing here that we have that you might not have known about, right, is you get surveys. So after a webinar, you can use the surveys to get feedback from attendees, right? And to also help further segment attendees and drive further action. For example, for marketing webinars, you can use the survey to identify hot leads that want to speak to a sales rep. And you can choose who gets these web surveys, right? You can choose when the survey appears in a follow-up email after the webinar, in the attendee follow-up email, or the absentee follow-up email. So maybe some surveys are more qualified than others, or less qualified, just so you can gauge attendee interest. And we also have some engagement features with GoToWebinar, right? So you can monitor how attentive attendees are during the webinar. So I'm looking at all of you, right? I'm seeing that some of you are watching, some of you aren't, but we can see that in the back end. So we know who is attentive, right, and who's not attentive. And that helps you score attendees, right? That gives you how well they're engaging with the content. So who's a better attendee, or who's not such a good attendee. Who to follow up with if it's a marketing thing, or if it's a classroom kind of situation. Maybe to call them out and say, maybe you should be attending and paying attention. It also gives you that report in webinar reports. So this is based on things like questions asked, attentiveness, and length of attendance. And the attendee score can be used to help score leads in marketing use cases.
Yeah, that's really
So
helpful.
what does it look like to? Yeah, a lot of good stuff, and all of it's reportable. So a lot of cool things with GoToWebinar, right? So before this webinar, right, we ran this in practice mode. So we all sat down and discussed, when we're going to run these polls, when we're going to share our content, who's doing the introductions, what we're going to say, right? And that's in practice mode. And we did that before the live event, and that's something that's really cool because there's no attendees in there, right? So it gives you the opportunity to be frank with all of your other panelists and organizers of the webinar. And another cool thing here is that we've got a view in our control
mode a ton. Yeah, for all of our webinars, we've got, the day before, we're going through a whole practice. Okay, you're doing this, or you're doing this, and be able to have that queued up with everything in practice mode. It's just like so great for us as far as it all going well when it comes time.
Yeah, think of it like a dry run. So when you're running your webinar, right, you can also see what's going on in real time. So you can share different parts of your screen on your computer. You can share your whole screen, right? And we also have different views, right? We've got clean mode, right? So that means that there's no pop-ups, no notifications, no distractions, no noises, right? It's just what you want to share, right? So I'm sharing today my whole screen, but I might have people IMing me in the background, right? Or sending me emails, right? But you don't see that because I'm using the clean mode. And you also have the ability here, right? One of the frequently asked questions is, when you're getting started with an online event or a live event is, can you see my screen? And the answer you don't have to answer that question, right? Because our control panel allows you to see what you're sharing as the audience is seeing it, right? So when we launched the poll, I've got my polling dashboard that shows what the answers are and who's answering, but it also shows me in this view, what you're seeing, right? So just the poll question. So a lot of cool features there to eliminate the guesswork as part of running these webinars. And then as part of this webinars, right, we've got different roles here as part of this program, right? We've got organizers, panelists, and of course attendees, right? So the organizers can start the webinar, record the webinar, and end the webinar, which is a big difference between organizers and panelists. They can present and speak. They can turn off and on their webcam, and they can answer questions. And then panelists can present and speak, turn on the webcam, answer assigned questions, and be promoted to organizer. And as an organizer, right, you get different controls as part of the GoToWebinar control panel. So when you're in a webinar and you want to maybe promote somebody in real time, maybe you forgot to register them or something like that, or special surprise guest, you can make them presenter, panelist, and organizer, and they get access to this control panel. where they can share their screen, right? They can grant keyboard or mouse control, or you can change presenter to somebody else. And of course, all the other controls here are, where you launch the polls, right? Where the Q&As are, right? Where all the handouts are. So it's a really flexible and intuitive interface that allows you to just run your webinar as you'd like to. So we also have the ability to manage question and answer. And as this video is playing, right, you can see here that if a question came in, you can pop out what that looks like. And you can see that, as the questions come in, right, your panelists can flag a question, right, and they can answer it in real time. And if it's an important question, right, they can send that to everybody or send that privately, right? And all of these are also recorded in our reporting and post-webinar reports. Right, so you can follow up with these questions afterwards if it's like a recorded webinar or you just don't know the answer. So some other cool things here. Now that you've finished your webinar, what do you do with all that data? We've got our reporting functionality as part of GotoWebinar. So this gives you analytics on webinar performance, registrant data, right, and attendee behavior, right? You can take poll and survey responses and use those to thoughtfully follow up with attendees or segment them into targeted groups. And really with what a webinar, what you want to do with a webinar, right, is take that data and drive action, right? So one of the questions that you ask yourself is, what's the next action you want your audience to take, right? It is engaging with the sales team, right? Is it reviewing learning materials? And for the best results, they actively prompt the audience to take that action. And great ways for this are, dedicated slides or pushing a link to a landing page that gives you the ability to, really take and put your branding content out there.
Is it possible to export this data?
It is, absolutely. As part of this data, right, it also comes into our analytics, right? So if you had, Salesforce or HubSpot, right, all of this data can be pushed and shared with all of them, so you can run reports in that software. And you can also run reports and filter based off of, date and time, right? You can also click our generate report link to get some, data according to the metrics that you want to have. So one of the other questions is, what do I do with all that content? Now that I've got some webinars, right? You guys have been running webinars for a while. You've been putting them on YouTube, but we also have our GoToStage platform, right? Our GoToStage platform allows you to have a customizable channel with custom branding, personalized URL. You can share that or keep it private. You can also have multiple channel pages, and those can have transcripts for your events, right? So this gives you a little bit more of a professional image for your content, right? So you might be putting it to YouTube, which is great, right? That's a great platform to share out data and gain audience, right? But you also might want to have a little bit more professional platform, right? Without all the extra content that can show up on YouTube, right? So we've got our GoToStage platform, which allows you to put it up on our platform here. That helps you increase visibility, right? And that gives you access to a whole new audience. It's all the other GoToWebinar presenters that have also put their content on GoToStage. So it gives you the audience, an additional audience. It's SEO optimized, right? So it's goes first on Google, and we also provide analytics, so you know who's watching your video.
I'm gonna check that out.
Can I set the URL to something that I want it to be? Like if I wanted to send it out in some easy form or host it on my website?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the content is fully downloadable if you wanted to host that on your website. It's also a browser page. So, you can get your programmers to, put that into your website and have like a frame or a separate page as part of this.
Awesome.
Cool. So I'll take a pause here, see if there's any questions. Or Esther, did you want to maybe talk about your experience getting this webinar set up?
Sure. Well, first of all, just a question or two, which maybe are related to some of my experiences, but somebody wanted to know, how does this compare to a platform like Zoom, or why use GoToWebinar over Zoom?
Yeah, great question. So GoToWebinar is purpose-built for webinars, right? So you gain all these features and functionalities that I've shown you, right, with polls, questions, reporting, right, and all of the integrations with, other platforms like HubSpot, right? And GoToWebinar is purpose-built for webinars, so it's easy to use, It's easy to join, right? It's easy to gain data and insights using our platform because it's purposely built for webinars, right? All those other platforms like GoToWebinar and WebEx, right? They're great platforms, but those were built for meetings first, and they added in functionality for webinars afterwards onto that. This is purposely built for that. So great question.
So what would you say the top use cases or reasons to use GoToWebinar, right? So webinar clearly in the name. I think training, we leverage it for training. We train clients on products and stuff like that, and I think it works really well for that. Town halls, I guess, if you're doing like a one-to-many. Is there any other use cases that you would say this tool comes in handy?
Yeah, all of those are great. So anytime that you want to have an audience engaged with your content, right? So think of that, maybe you might be just sending out emails to your customers or your employees, right? And maybe you want to have some customizable information as part of that, right? When you want to have videos, right? Or if you wanted to have kind of like a seminar, and it kind of takes those impersonal things and makes them personal, right? So it adds faces, it adds audio, it adds voices. It also allows you to engage back with them, right? So it's a live way of engaging with your attendees. You get polls, right? Q&A, right? You're able to see who's engaged, right? So this allows you, maybe if you were hosting an event in person, right? Maybe somebody had their head down on their table and they were falling asleep. That's probably not a qualified attendee, right? But with GoToWebinar, you can also see that in real time. You can see who's looking at the webinar, right? Who's got the screen in front, and also maybe who's got their hand raised. It looks like Elena says hello. Hello, Elena.
Jeremy, we don't discriminate. Everyone's welcome, sleeping or awake. I'm kidding. I would also just add that we actually run a few events, networking and otherwise, like the roundtable, and we use Zoom for other sorts of maybe more meetings and teams, of course, but for webinars and that type of format, GoToWebinar obviously has way more capabilities, which you touched on some. It's obviously easier to see it a little bit once you start getting into it and working with the platform. So I guess it's definitely much more robust, and there's way more functionality. I would say just as like a organizer, there's a lot more to do, and a lot of automation too. It's a huge time saver. I find with the meetings that we use Zoom or sometimes Teams, it doesn't do all that follow-up. It doesn't necessarily look as nice on the invites. GoToWebinar has capabilities to like automate your inviting. It'll send a reminder email a week before, and you actually don't need to do anything. So if you have a lot on your plate, it's a great way to save time and also be efficient and drive leads.
I'm curious, Jeremy, is there any integration with social media platforms?
We do, yeah. So I believe that you can share event links and gain tracking through that, right? So you can have a registration page with GoToWebinar, right? And you can use that to generate a unique link for each of those social sites. And you can say, for attendee tracking purposes, you can say who clicked on that link, right? And then, if they joined and registered for the webinar, what platform that they use.
So you basically generate separate unique links for your different platforms, email, social, et cetera, and then you could see where the signups are coming from and get those stats, right?
Exactly right, yeah.
Got it.
We have another really good question. I think people ask this pretty often. Is there a way to access the webinar using a browser instead of having to download the app? Like, I guess if you're joining the actual webinar.
Yeah, great question. So that would be if you wanted to have that flexible attendee join experience on the browser instead of an app download, right? So we've got our webcast mode. That webcast mode runs in the browser, right? It's just an internet link that they click. It goes into their computer and it runs, on any platform, right? As long as you can access the internet. And it's still a full function webinar, right? You can see all of our smiling faces, right? You can see all that content. It's just easier to join because there isn't that download there.
There was the webcast type, and then there was the more interactive type. In the more interactive type, obviously people can use the app, but can people also log on with the web browser and not the app and just not have that much interactivity?
So with our standard webinar type, you have to download the application.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah,
Looks
you
like
can
we have
also
another-
use
In the browser. Okay.
You can also use GoToWebinar here on your mobile device. So, that's an easy way to join, right? If you're on the road, on the fly, right? And that's an app that's available on iPhone and Android app store, so you can, play along at home.
We got another question.
They don't need. Go ahead.
Sorry. Pat was asking, does GoToWebinar integrate with wild apricots? Not sure if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I'll have to follow up with you on that one, Pat. I haven't heard of that software. We do have an API platform, so that allows you to make your own custom integration if that, if we don't have that pre-built. But a lot of the features that you might be looking for, right? To get automated in there, right? That might already be covered by the platform that we have already, right? To gather attendee information, run reports, and gather analytics.
I know before we used the HubSpot integration, there we were easily able to pull out the info. So it's also very easy, even if there isn't an integration to do, I can say. Does anyone else have questions? Feel free to submit them now in the questions box.
Is it possible to queue up handouts? So you can have like 3 handouts queued up and then say, okay, this time I want this one to go out and that one time I want that one to go out?
Yeah, great question. So all the handouts are available all at once. So you can just point to your audience and say, all right, open up this one now, open up this one next. Those would be great, just for like the quick hitting information, right? Like a one pager, not for more complex information, because when you're in a webinar, right, when you're live, right, you want to maintain attendee interest. By clicking onto something that might take their time away from, what you're presenting or what you're sharing could be detrimental to, what you're trying to share.
And then I guess let's maybe close out with how people can sign up or get started if they're interested in sort of getting into the product more. No one wants to tackle that. Well, I guess
sorry, was that me? Yeah.
I
So
can tackle that one too.
as we said earlier, we are a channel partner for LogMeIn, which is GoToWebinar, GoToConnect, GoToMeeting, LastPass. If you go on their website, you'll see a whole slew of products. Most of them are awesome, and we are an agent. So basically, we're not a reseller. We just put LogMeIn together with the clients, and they pay us a small fee. That's how we get paid. You don't have to pay us to do anything other than get the great software at the great price. So you can reach out to Esther if you're interested in learning more about any of their products, including Goto.
Thanks, Jeff. And if it's okay, we got one more question came in, which is actually one that I think is maybe something I've thought about too. So maybe you guys could put it into the future roadmap of the product, but they want to know if you have custom backgrounds on your screens.
Yeah, so when you have an event and you launch an event, you can have your screen shared, right? So that allows you to share whatever content is on your screen. If you wanted to have like a custom background on an event page, on a registration page, I think that's probably what you were leaning towards, right? You can have custom branded on colors and things like that. But we also, through our different integrations with different softwares like Salesforce Pardo or Marketo, right? You can have customizable pages using that software and then just push all that data to your GoToWebinar page. So a lot of different flexible options there.
Thanks. I'm not sure if Pat meant that or like your screen background like on Zoom where you can like.
I was gonna say, Jeremy, and I mean I know only from having to do obviously different platforms with my kids in different schools, like when you're in Zoom or when you're in certain other meeting platforms, you are able to go in and make your background something fun. Do we have that available? I know that we were working on it at some point within GoToConnect, but I don't know what the status is on that or where we're at. So.
Yeah, I apologize. I misheard that question, but you got an answer for another question that you might not have known that you had. But with our custom backgrounds, right? So every license of GoToWebinar comes with a seat or a license to use GoToMeeting. And through that, right, you get access to our custom background. So you get a program called ChromaCam. That allows you to set filters in your background. It allows you to have blur in the backend, or also, custom backgrounds, custom pictures. So yeah, the answer is yes.
Right.
Oh, thanks. All right, so I guess we're just about at
I got a question.
Oh, No, we're not.
Seeing as how a lot of presentations are done with, say, PowerPoint, are there any special controls when using PowerPoint with GoToWebinar?
Yeah, great question. So in our sharing dialog here, let me go ahead and show you what options that I get with GoToWebinar. So with GoToWebinar, right, I've got my dashboard here that allows you to, share your screen, right? So if I'm sharing a PowerPoint, right, it's just simply my screen. I'm able to, share what's going on my screen through the PowerPoint. But you're also able to share specific applications here. So I can share if there's a video here that we wanted to play, I can play that. If it's just a window on my computer, right, or my different applications, right, or my whole, desktop and dashboard, right, I can share both of those as part of this. So it allows you to be flexible there. And because it's your computer that you're sharing, right, you can do anything that you can do in PowerPoint with GoToWebinar. So there's really no difference there.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Awesome. So I think that just about wraps this up. If anyone has other questions or, like Jeff said, wants to purchase, reach out to us. We're happy to help get you best pricing. Before we wrap up, I just want to mention our next webinar is on November. I think it's the 18th. It's mid-November, and it's a webinar on Windows 365 Cloud PC. We do a webinar a month, so check our website, rcsprofessional.com, under events, and you can see all our upcoming events. We love to have you back. And that's basically it. So Melissa and Jeremy, thank you guys for being such great partners and putting this together with us. And Jeff, Norman, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Okay. Bye.